Redistricting. What does that mean? Are the bad guys trying to move things around and it isn't in our best interest? Are the good guys, who are the good guys and who? I can't explain this, for crying out loud. It's why we got Russell Smoldon down here. Russell, introduce yourself by name, affiliation, and title.
Name, rank, and serial number.
Yes.
My name is Russell Smoldon, and I'm the CEO of B3 Strategies, which stands for Brick by Brick. So we build public policy brick by brick.
Okay, so you did that pretty well.
Thanks.
Now explain gerrymandering.
Elbridge Gerry was the governor of Massachusetts.
Is that the truth?
1812. Yep, Elbridge. Not Eldridge, Elbridge.
Yes.
Elbridge Gerry. The legislature there created a district that looked like a salamander. Actually, in cartoons in 1812, it looked like a big dragon, but they called it a salamander. And so gerrymandering, when you put the two words together, is how we got the word. And what it basically means is you're giving political advantage to your party. So the Democratic Republicans, which was a party at the time, gerrymandered that district in order to gain power from the other party at the time, the Federalists. And so that has stuck. So every 10 years, we redraw the boundaries according to the census.
Okay, is that the reason it changes? Because the states don't change, it's
Correct.
the same shape.
Correct.
But the districts have to change because the populations change?
Yeah, because you have an influx of population in terms of Congress. There are 435 congressmen. So each, you are divided by population. So if Pennsylvania loses population and Arizona gains population, which happens a lot these days, or Ohio or Michigan, whatever, Arizona gains population, then according to the census, they're entitled to another congressional seat. So that's why we've grown and now have 9 congressional seats.
Yeah, and Arizona, of course, you really have to make changes.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
Because of the population change.
Yeah, we've over the last 50 years grown incredibly dramatically. So we from a population standpoint, we are now in the upper middle of the pack, probably in the top 20 in terms of population.
How many congressmen did you say we have?
We have 9 congressmen.
No, total, nationally.
435.
Okay, 435. Of those, who actually are doing a good job?
Well, let me think about that. Can I get back to you on the next segment? No, our people do great work. I'm a lobbyist.
Suck up to the
Fantastic.
client. Suck up to the client. I can't believe it. Supreme Court said something very important about this subject. Is the reason we're talking about it.
Yeah, the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this week ruled on a 5-4 decision in Arizona versus the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission that the term legislature means a body of the state. So it could be the legislature or the people voting through an initiative process.
Because that's what the Constitution says.
That's what the Constitution says. The legislature will establish the boundaries of the districts, basically. So the court interpreted legislature to mean the legislature, meaning the governing body, or the legislature's ability to give that power to the people through the initiative process.
But if it's always a matter of the state legislature, the guys we vote into office,
right,
it's always going to be partisan.
Oh, sure.
So if it's an independent group, it doesn't have to be necessarily. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Are decisions at your house not made politically? I mean, because they are at my house. So it doesn't matter how independent it is. There's still a smattering of politics associated with it.
You're opposed to what the Supreme Court decided?
No. I'm from a personal standpoint. There were 20 legislators all lined up to run in new congressional districts. So that means I don't have to write that many checks to all my friends who want to be congressmen. So that's a good thing. But no, it's the question is, what do we do for the next basically 2 elections before we redraw the boundaries anyway?
Is it possible? And now, as a lobbyist, you're going to put it on the line.
Yeah.
Is it possible to be, as they say in news television, fair and balanced when it comes to redistricting?
It depends on the personality. So when the independent
personality of who?
Of the individuals making the decisions, right? So When we did this in 2000, that the way the Independent Redistricting Committee works is they are 4 partisan people on there. So there's 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, and then those 4 get together and pick an independent, who is the 5th member.
That's about as balanced as you
That
can
sounds
get.
pretty balanced, right? Except in 2000, they picked an independent who kind of leaned Republican. So the Republicans
Okay.
got what they wanted in boundaries.
All right.
In 2010, we had an independent who kind of leaned Democrat. So the Democrats got a little bit better treatment.
But that seems to work out.
Oh, sure it does.
With
Oh,
the state,
absolutely
with
it
the
does.
state legislature, there's no leaning. I mean, it's so heavily.
Yeah, what happens is, so a couple of people decide where the safe districts are going to be, right? And then you argue about what's going to be competitive. The interesting thing that's occurred is that we haven't had that much of a change from when the legislature did the boundaries versus the independent redistricting.
All right, is it going to now, as a result of the decision by the Supreme Court, is it going to remain the same until somebody else creates another lawsuit?
Well, it'll remain the same at least until the court hears the next redistricting argument in October, which they just announced this week.
Excuse me, pardon me, Russell. Russell Snowden, Pat McMahon.